Welcome to episode 6 of Study Overseas Live.
What are you doing?
It's like the Mexican Day of the Dead.
No, it's Halloween, Rob.
Oh. Oh. G'day, welcome to Study Overseas Live, episode 6. This is the show for Australian university students who are interested or even just starting to think about overseas study experiences. Today's episode is an absolute cracker, Tashka Hari. Great
Yes.
to have you here again.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here again. As you said, we are talking about a massive topic, something that might be holding you back a little bit in terms of moving forward in your study overseas application. So we want to try and help you the best that we can to try and overcome that, because you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. This is going to be,
Incredible.
we say this every week, but the best thing that you'll do in your life. So
Yeah.
don't let this stop you from living that dream.
Today's episode, how to convince your parents how to put their minds at ease that overseas study is like a good idea. And by the end of this episode, you're going to have some really good, actionable tactics that you can use to convince even like the most nerve-wracked parent that this international study thing is a really good idea. Yeah, awesome. So super valuable.
Yes.
Great. And where are we going to start? We're just going to get straight into it, I think.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Now we have Kayla Paradiso joining us for my favourite segment of the week. So it's Travel App of the Week. Kayla, hello.
How are you, Kayla?
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
What does that lead into? What app you're going to be telling us about today?
I hope so, otherwise she's like lost it.
It does. So today we're talking about an app. So it ties in really well with the topic today. So it's a travel app that helps you learn a language. So it's a really great way to do that. It's available on Android and Apple, and the app is called Memrise.
Memrise. Tell us more.
So it's very similar to Duolingo, which we mentioned in our first episode as part of our 20 travel apps. But this one, it is a little bit different in that you're learning from videos of local speakers. So it gives you more of a practical kind of session on the language that you want to learn as well.
Nice one. And what kind of languages are included in there?
Yeah, so they range quite a bit. So you can learn Chinese, Italian, all the kind of the top languages, Spanish as well. And the really cool thing about this app as well, which is very different to Duolingo, is that you can choose different courses. So there are courses created by Memrise, the app, but then there are also courses created by users to help other users as well. Yeah, so it's very different. So for example, if you're looking to learn Chinese, one user has created a course called An Intro to Chinese, How to Read a Menu. So very practical courses to choose from. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask as well. Does it go in different levels? So do you have your beginner, intermediate, advanced?
You do, yeah. So the courses created by Memrise are very much set up like you've suggested, the beginner, intermediate, and then advanced courses. And basically, if you subscribe to the app as well, which subscriptions start from about $4 a month, you can actually track your learning progression as well a little bit more seriously for serious users.
Cool. So this is like freemium model. You get it for free. You can do all the basic stuff for free, and then once you're happy with it and you want to go a bit deeper, you can pay a pretty reasonable amount.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you opt for the free version, you still have access to quite a lot of the awesome features. But like I said, if you're more of a serious user, the features really go a little bit deeper to track your progression.
Awesome.
Sounds really helpful for those who are traveling to countries where you're not quite sure if you know the language or not yet, and you just want to learn a few phrases or get a little bit more advanced in a language.
Yeah, And if you're traveling with friends as well, you can log in with Facebook and you can follow your friends' progressions, and you can also create a group, so called sort of like a little study group,
Cool.
and you
That's
can
nice.
learn together. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Good find, Kayla.
Yeah, love it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Ciao.
So valuable, huh? Memrise. What a great app.
Yes, make sure you download, and if you want to look at all the other apps that we've talked about in the past in every episode, then make sure you go back to all of our other episodes.
Yeah, particularly
Get them
episode
down.
number 1, we went through the top 20 apps for study and travel. And there were some amazing apps in there.
Yeah, there were some bangers.
Yeah, some bangers. I just thought, like, the first time I went backpacking and did my exchange and stuff, like, there was none of this stuff available. I don't know
Did apps
how.
exist
No.
back then?
We didn't have, like, iPhones.
Mobile phones exist?
Actually, no. No, it's crazy, isn't it?
You've seen it all.
I have, yeah, I know my days old. Like, yeah, I've seen everything in my day. It's all so much better in the past. Oh, what a load of crap. No, but genuinely, like, being able to learn language on the fly is pretty awesome. And you know what, guys? It's really important, this overseas study stuff, because when you get to the end of your degree, the whole end goal of this is really that you end up with a job. And the stats over recent years about uni graduates walking out into work are kind of frightening. Like, it's been declining for many years, sort of stabilised. Around 70% of graduates have a job within 4 months. But that stat's actually higher for students who've had international study experiences. You're more employable because the soft skills you gain from international study experience are so valued by employers. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about in just a few minutes.
Yeah, it also kind of links into the episode last week when we talked about how to build your personal brand
Totally.
as well. So if you're interested in that, go and watch that episode.
Make sure if you're watching this, please like this video, click the thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll make sure we keep you up to date with all the episodes that are coming your way. What else can people do, Tash?
Yeah, we also have a Study Overseas Live Committee Facebook group. So we are posting so much content in there. We're posting past episodes, we're posting all of our show notes, we're posting anything of extra value that we think of. We had a travel solo playlist that we posted a couple of weeks back.
Good.
Yeah, and that's a collaborative playlist as well, so you can add songs.
Oh, yeah.
So join our community. We have over 100 people in there now. So Study Overseas Live Community just as a Facebook group, and come and join the tribe.
Come join the tribe. Let's do it. Let's talk about this, like, critical issue of how to actually talk to your parents about overseas study. Tash, you've studied overseas.
Yes.
What was it like for you?
Yeah, so a bit of context, I did a 3-week study program in the States. Obviously not a huge commitment, but still for me it was a big step. I was still living with my family at the time. I was still studying at uni. I hadn't done a lot of travel in my time. I traveled to America before, but with my family. So this was a huge step for me, and I kind of floated the idea with my parents, mainly my mum, because she's the decision maker of the house.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. Told her, look, this is something that I want to do. This is where the program is. This is the provider that I'm going with. What do you think? And her main concern, firstly, was about financial, if I would be able to afford it financially. And then second was the people that I was traveling, or how safe, the safety. Safety reasons. And so what I did to kind of address that was like, well, I can access the OS Help Loan. We looked it up. Amazing scheme. You can get up to $6,500, or depending where you go, but over $6,500 that goes onto your HECS. So that was a great option for me. I wouldn't have to put hardly anything from my savings into it, which was awesome. And that was a kind of a tick for my mum. And then the next one was safety. I told her, look, I'm going with a provider. I'm going with 20 other Australian students. We're all going to do the same program. We're doing the same cultural activities. We're going away on weekends together. They're an Australian company. Mum was like, okay, tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
Yes, great. I'm very reassured. And off we went to the airport. There were some tears. There were lots of tears from both sides. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I had to do a lot of convincing, but there were definitely concerns from my parents. But once I addressed all their concerns, then it was pretty smooth sailing. So I'm very lucky to. I think it would have been a very different conversation if I told her I was going on a 6-month exchange or a year-long exchange. Obviously, a bigger commitment. I'd be away for longer. I'd have to organise a lot of things for myself. But I think if I came to her with the same type of idea, with the same plan, she would still...
Would have been all right.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
What about you, Rob?
My mum cried.
Just burst out in tears.
Yeah, she basically burst into tears when I told her that I was going to be going off to do a semester exchange program in the UK. Because I'd decided, my mind was made up. And she came around, I guess, eventually to it being an idea, but it was the first time me being out of home. So she wasn't an obstructionist, but she was very much like, are you sure? So all this kind of advice we're about to give you guys is very much tried and tested. And we're going to be talking you through your game plan. This is your game plan for how to approach that key conversation. I think I just sailed into mine. I was just told my mum, I'm off. And she cried.
No wonder why she cried.
Yeah, no wonder she cried.
There was no strategy.
I was a teenage boy. I mean, we're so insensitive as teenage boys. But having a strategy behind it is going to be super helpful for you. As a bit of a demonstration about how difficult this kind of was in total for me. Here's the photo of me at the airport about to take off. There's my family. Really nice.
There's the hat.
Look at the hat. That was hat number 1. Yeah, I'm up to hat number 3 now. But my mum felt compelled not only just to take like photo of one photo of the plane, but a second photo of the plane, and a third photo of the plane, and a photo of the plane taking off. Yeah, so my mum was like pretty overwhelmed by the whole issue. So let's talk about how you can make this so much easier than the kind of conversations that we probably had, Tash. Setting the scene, like what do we mean here? Assess the situation.
Yeah, so we really mean to sit down and really think about things from your parents' perspective.
Yeah.
So think about what their possible concerns might be. Are their concerns going to be like myself, like financial concerns, safety concerns? Are they worried that you're not going to be mature enough? Think about all those things. Maybe jot them down. That's an awesome place to start thinking about what they might be thinking about.
Let us give you some hints here. What you've just said are the key things that parents worry about. Are you going to run out of money? Are you going to be safe? Number one thing is like, are you going to be safe and healthy? And then beyond that, they start to worry about other things. Is this going to impact your degree? Is it going to mean that you're going to graduate later? Those are some of the really key things. Are you going to miss key events at home? Like, is your nana having her 80th birthday and like you're not going to be there?
Yeah.
Or your dog is turning 15 and that's really significant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it could be big or small. Put yourself into your parents' shoes before you have this convo and think about what might be their pain points. Yeah.
And that really leads into the next point as well, which is do the prep time. So make sure once you've sat down and you've really thought about all those points in the previous slide, then sit down and start doing your research. So for each point you've written down, you're going to want to have a really good argument for each point. So if it is because of financial reasons, make a budget.
Make a budget. That's a great idea.
Take it to your parents, show them, look, this is what I've done, this is how I'm going to manage my money when I'm 6 months in the UK. It really shows them that you've thought that through. And same for safety as well. Do your research on the country that you want to go to, take it to your parents and research the emergency procedures, emergency numbers, and show them that you will be in good hands as well.
Yeah, it's like when you think about what are the main objections that your parents are going to have? Health and safety, money, putting a degree behind, missing out on key events. Are you going to move permanently? Like, are they worried that you might be permanently moving to the other side of the world? I think that's what my mum was probably most worried about, that I was like gone, right, not coming back.
Yeah.
Totally right. So think about those objections and then go and find the points that kind of like refute those in advance. Do your budget. Awesome. Health and safety, one of the best things about health and safety, if you're going to do a program at a university, you know, like a summer school, winter school, exchange program, anything like that, you're going into a very supported environment, you know, an environment where universities overseas have support services. You're not going alone, you're actually going into a whole structure over there, and that's incredibly powerful in terms of an argument to sort of frame for your parents. What we're going to do, actually, one of the best things that you need to have is like that data about why this is so valuable for your career. We've talked about that a lot in past episodes. What we'll do is, in the Facebook group, Tash, what we'll do is we'll drop in that video that I've done, which is like 3 minutes. It's a video done specifically for parents, and I basically take parents through all of the key statistics and research about how this international study experience will benefit your degree. You know, you're more creative and flexible and adaptable, more employable, higher starting salaries, and. It's just like three minutes of like jab, like stats. And I think you guys will find that super valuable. So hit us up in the Facebook group and we'll make sure that is in there.
Yeah, so that's the Study Overseas Live Community Facebook group. So we'll post that after the show.
Absolutely. All right, so spending some time sitting down and prepping is absolutely critical.
Did you just have a good idea?
No, it was like game time. I got like all you know.
Oh.
We're talking game plan. Look at this photo. Where did that photo come from? This dude's like pleading for his life. Please don't make me shave my beard.
I think it's like the dad saying, like, please don't leave me.
Please don't leave me. That's true. This conversation, right? Like, and this is something I totally didn't do, but I think is super important. Is think about the setting where you're going to have that conversation. This is part of your preparation, right? Is having that conversation over the dinner table where you guys normally, you know, chew the fat on what's gone on during the day or argue about politics or something like that. I don't know what it is that you do at dinner, but is that the best place for it? I don't know. There's a whole stream of psychology, which is how you can create an environment that helps create an opportunity to persuade someone. So, for example, I'm just looking here on our bookshelf. If we've got like some books here about education, like rocket fuel, leadership, you know, like I could pull out a whole bunch of books, right? But having things in the space where you're intending to have that conversation will, by default, create like some impression in your parents' mind that you're industrious and studious. So if you want to have a conversation and you know your parents' biggest objection is going to be, this is going to interrupt your degree. This is going to impact your career and your studies. The way that you can create an environment to be more persuasive that this is a good thing is, for example, to set up the dining room table with some textbooks, boom, like some textbooks on the table, your laptop open, and if you've got glasses, like your glasses sitting on the side, print out your budget spreadsheet and have that sitting there, and everything's sort of neatly arranged. Because what happens is when your folks come into the room to have that conversation, without even realising it, in the back of their minds, they're going to see that environment and they're going to intuitively recognise that you are serious, committed to your education because you're studying and computer is open, that you're organised, you've got like spreadsheets, which implies you've done analysis and you've calculated the cost of this. What else could relate to career? Like something that relates to career, like the newspaper with the latest job ads. You know what I mean? Like the employment section of the newspaper from the weekend paper. You could have that folded up and sitting on top of it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But think about
shows that you've really thought about it.
You've thought about it. They're not going to then look at the paper and be like, why have you got the jobs ads there? It's not going to occur to them. But intuitively, they'll see that prop in your constructed scene, and it will persuade them that you're not just going into this half-baked. Yeah, you're setting the scene.
Yeah, I think that will really help them see that it's not just an idea that you've plucked or seen on a website or seen at your university poster. You might have seen it, but now you're committed. You're really committed to it, and it's something that you want to do regardless of whether they're going to approve it, or they're not quite there yet.
Yeah. So think about their objections and what are going to be their greatest concerns, and just address them without them even needing to present them. You can say to them, look, I understand that your concerns are that, I might put myself behind in my degree. Well, what you should know are these statistics, more creative, more employable, blah, 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 blah. I know that you're worried about money, like we've always been really, haven't had a lot of money in our family, and like what you need to understand is that I've been saving up, I've got OS help, I've got scholarship money, here's the budget that I've created to stay on track, and, once you're out in the workforce, some graduates actually self-declare that they are earning like more money as a starting salary, and that it's helped move their career along further and faster. That's the sort of stuff that you can actually pitch to them as part of that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
What about staying in touch? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say as well, it might be good to think about the way that you want to display the information to them. If you just want to sit down and talk about it, or if you do want to make a little PowerPoint slide presentation, and show them the video that we are going to be posting into the Facebook group. What else? I know that you are a big letter writer,
Oh, yeah, I
so
am.
you might want to write a
Write a
letter
letter.
to them, just really reinforcing why you need to do this and why you want to do it. So think about the kind of format that you want to use as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you set the scene, you control the environment, right? And that means you can set that up however you want. You can have the letter there ready to go, like give them a letter to get them reading, and then show them, do them a PowerPoint, present it to them, play them the video. You can make this as formal as you want, as formal as you're comfortable. And honestly, I think if I was a parent and my kid came home and was like, Mum, Dad, come in here, I need you to sit down, I have something to talk to you about, and they sat down and they present, don't you think?
They pull their PowerPoint presentation, wouldn't you just be like, whoa,
Wow, you're amazing.
how can you say no to that?
They'd just be like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And then still have their concerns, but then you're already kind of on the front foot. Really important in these conversations, part of our tendency as humans is, this is like conflict, right? If I'm giving some bad news to Tash, I have good news and bad news. As the person delivering the news, my first inclination is to be like, okay, so Tash, I have some good news. I'm going to tell you some good news. And then, but unfortunately, like that discount at the supermarket expired and I missed out on buying chocolates at half price. How do you feel? Like the person who's on the receiving end of that news, though, wants to end on a high.
Yeah.
Always. So I want to try and soften the blow by leading in with good news. The person listening to it wants to end on a high. Always end on the high, right? Find that good news story about why this is going to be an enormous benefit for you, for your parents, for your family. Do you want to go to Italy, to reconnect with the roots of your family? You can tell that story. I want to really reconnect with the roots of the family. That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you end on that high, people will walk away feeling like it was a positive conversation, even if you had some hard stuff in the middle. So when it comes to planning, plan out your closing. Plan out ending on a high.
Yeah, it's a really good tip.
I see our producer for today, Amanda, is lurking in the background.
Do we have a
Do we have a question?
question?
We've got a question.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Question.
Here it comes. Oh, I love this. Oh no! Oh no!
So today's question is, do you have any tips on persuading your parents when you want to study or travel to a destination that might be scarier? So for example, somewhere in South America. It's a good question.
That's such a good question. I'm a big fan of doing the stats. Anyway, sorry, you go first. You clearly have something to say.
Well, I was going to say a good place to start would probably be Smart Traveller.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely do your research beforehand. But I think Smart Traveller will be a good way because obviously it's a government website and it will tell you if a country is safe or if the country, if there's something you should be cautious about the country especially. So especially if it's a country that don't have a problem with, it's a bit on the safer side, then definitely go to Smart Traveller, bring that up, show your parents, to kind of put their minds at ease.
Yeah. I'd say two things. Like, firstly, do that prep, get your statistics. Nothing is as bad as it sounds in reality, right? Nothing ever is. If you can look up and, like, your chances of getting run over by a bus in downtown Melbourne or Sydney or Adelaide, wherever you live, are higher than you being mugged, in Peru on the Inca Trail. They're just statistics, so look them up and have that ready to go. And make sure you include that kind of conversation, that point, early in the conversation, right? Get that out of the way early. The health and safety is like their biggest freak out point. Awesome, well, I'm going to be going with a group. I'm going to be studying at a university where they've got awesome support services. I'm going to have a mobile phone with me. I'll turn on, track my iPhone or that family location thing so you can always see where I am. I'm going to stay in touch with you. Explain up front, like, how are you going to stay in touch? I'm going to send you postcards. We're going to be on WhatsApp together. Whatever those mechanisms are going to be. And by the way, like, the stats, here are the actual statistics. Crime in Chile has been declining for the past 15 years, even though on the news you've just seen like these riots or whatever is going on.
Yeah, I agree. I just recalled when I went for a holiday to Bali at the end of next year. When I first told my mum I wanted to go to Bali, her first reaction was, oh no, don't go to Bali, you're going to fall off a motorbike and die. Because of everything that's been happening a long time ago, everything that was portrayed in the media was like, don't go to Bali because something bad is going to happen to you on the motorbikes.
Somebody's going to put drugs in your suitcase,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and you're going to end up in prison for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, no, it happened once.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And that's what I just had to do, reassure her, like, Mum, it's not.
It's okay.
It's fine,
yeah. I'd finish off this kind of like topic just by saying, finish with some gratitude, right? What's critical? Parents love you, they want to see the best for you. And I think they want to know that they're not driving you away, all right? It's not something that they've done. Sorry, maybe they have.
Don't tell them.
But don't tell them, right? Maybe your parents are overbearing, you just need to get out of there. But there's this intense guilt on parents to want to do the right thing by their children. And I think one of the reasons this is so frightening for them is that they feel like, what have I done to you to push you to the other side of the world for 6 months and you might never come home? Like, show gratitude and say something like, take down these words like, Mum, Dad, like, I love you. You have given me such a great upbringing and I'm so grateful for everything you've done for me. But like, I'm 19 now, I'm an adult, and I really want to make the most of my career and this life ahead, and I need to stand on my own 2 feet. And that means like pushing myself out of my comfort zone and going and doing this. As scary as it is for you, I can tell you what, it's scarier for me, and I'm going to do it anyway because I have to. Was that good? Thank you. Thank you.
That's just a mic drop moment.
Mic drop. Awesome.
What parent isn't just going to be like, wow.
We'll grab the transcript of that. We'll put it on the Facebook group. So if you need the wording of exactly how to do it, practice it in the mirror and you'll be fine. All right, let's go on. So you've just had this lovely conversation. You're finishing up with some like positivity, some gratitude, so that it ends on a high. Reinforcement is next. Actually, it says, hang on a second. Reinstate. I think we've got the wrong word there actually on this slide. Reinstate. Reinforce is what we really wanted to say here, and the idea is that it's a bit like what you were saying, Tash, with people seeing stuff in the media and them having the opinion that everyone going to Bali is riding motorbikes without helmets and crashing into stray dogs and killing themselves. Like, reinforcement is what makes things real for people. So follow people up, follow your parents up with some data. Follow them up with like that research paper, with the video we're going to give you. Make sure that you reinforce the good stuff that that you've already talked to them about.
Yeah, and that will help them see that, again, it's not just something that you've thought of, that it's a passing thought, that you're really committed to it.
That's it.
And you're not going to let it go.
That's it. Exactly. So reinforce, reinforce, reinforce. Okay, touchdown, success. Well, this can really go one of two ways, can't it?
It can.
Let's talk about both. Let's talk about the success. How did it go when you had a good combo? Yeah.
Success is they agree, they're with you 100%, they're ready to support you. On the other side of things is they're not quite there yet, perhaps. And it might just have to be you go back to step 4 again and just reinforce. Then hopefully that will eventually lead to a touchdown. You can also get, so obviously you've gone through all these steps now, so you've tried to make your point, you've shown them Rob's video. What else can you do? Just try and think outside the box. Can you get someone from your international office to talk to your parents, or
probably not going to
probably
do that.
not.
It's so busy. But that reminds me, Global Society. We work with over half the Australian universities. We have tons of resources for students just like you to help you prepare to study overseas. But we also have a whole online community and guides and information just for parents. So if you're from one of the Global Society's partner universities, you can actually have your parents join and get access to a support community and information, and we will literally answer their questions as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because they don't want to feel like they've let you down and driven you away. They want to feel like they've got somewhere to turn for their to answer their questions. Yeah, awesome. So I think that's really useful.
Yeah, and I think as well, although you might have convinced them that this is a good idea, still be wary that they are still going to have concerns throughout the whole process of you organising your study overseas trip. They are still going to be worried, so keep that in mind as you're planning. Involve them in the planning, keep them updated, give them your itinerary, what you're planning to do, just so they're kept in the loop, so they're not stressing, freaking out. I think what you mentioned before is amazing, and it's something that I did before I left as well, is the Find My Friends app. I'm not sure if that's only on iPhone, but I did that with my dad so that he could see where I was. Just very good for safety.
Definitely. Don't let them watch Taken. Okay, the movie. No, really bad idea. Okay. Let's have a bit of fun. This has been very serious.
Yeah.
Let's have a little bit of fun. So, for the history books, Cessa has spent probably like a year on and off working on our Aim Overseas student portal, and tonight it's ready to go, man. So, congratulations, it's being pushed out to all of the students. So, we are cracking the champagne. It's going to make a great video.
Rob is still working on the champagne here.
That's classic. It's kind of like running a tech project, actually. I can't actually do it. Does anyone else want to have a go? Come on, Doug. It's really like a tech project, so just when you think everything's ready to go, you can't get the cork out of the bottle. Epic. So, IT teamwork a team has done good work getting it ready. Management has failed on the champagne front. Wow, that was intense.
Now we have Jackie Peters who's joining us. Hi, Jackie.
G'day, Jackie.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are we going today?
Great. So now, it's the country deep dive segment. What country are you going to be telling us about today?
So I decided to focus on China today. Although I've never been there myself, I really, really want to. Um, a significant portion of Australian students that are actually travelling over there at the moment, particularly with the funds from the new Colombo grant, which are very, very nice. We've talked about it in previous segments, so go check out those episodes, guys. Just a little hint that I wanted to throw out there before we started. This deep dive is a little bit different from the other countries that we've spoken about because it is an Eastern culture. And although that seems like a pretty obvious thing to say, it's quite different from knowing something to living it. So when you're over there, just don't be rude or disrespectful of their laws and customs just because they're a bit different. Just try to embrace them instead. So we'll start with the basics. So the Chinese long distance transport systems are very, very efficient. The local transport ones, not so much, although obviously the major cities have the metros and the buses. But just a little cultural difference there. You have to shove your way on and off of those trains, like you use your elbows. It's not like Australia where you step back and wait for everyone to get off. So if you see your stop, you just shove your way off.
Yeah, good tip. You don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, you don't want to miss your stop. The Chinese currency is the yuan, although they're actually changing over to a more cashless society at the moment with their systems of Alipay and WeChat Pay, which are like the major businesses. I'll be talking about WeChat a little bit later too. Which brings us to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are actually banned in China. So they have different social media, which is WeChat, which is like the Chinese Facebook, and Weibo, which is Chinese Twitter. So be aware of that. You don't want to get in trouble.
Censorship in general is a big deal there. They call it the Great Firewall of China. Essentially, internet from the outside world is heavily monitored and redacted. So a lot of stuff that you may access here, you might not have access to in China.
So would you recommend downloading WeChat? So if you meet anyone there while you're on exchange, we'll be able to contact them?
WhatsApp is available over there. So if you've already got that, then that's quite helpful as well. So you can download that as well. But just a few more cultural differences. So like I said, with the shoving your way off the trains, just personal space and queuing in general is not a bigger thing as it is here in Australia. So if someone's in your bubble, they're not trying to offend you, so don't get mad. It's just the way the society functions over there. Also,
on that actually, and that's interesting in general, just like kind of body language stuff. Basically, people who are from the country have got like a wider personal space zone than people from the cities. So you can imagine in these heavily populated cities, just the sense of personal space is completely different, and people are much more comfortable just being like literally up against each other. So once again, it's maybe not even necessarily cultural, it's just human and the product of the environments that we grow up in. But it is very strange. I've been to China. When you first encounter that, you're kind of like, what the hell's going on here? But it's not just something to get used to.
Yeah.
It might be a bit strange at the start, but you get used to it.
Same on the roads, actually. There are so many cars. Yeah, you just got to get used to it being just a different volume of people and traffic and everything. It's a different game.
Did you have to go on the roads?
Just in taxis and stuff like that. I would never drive there myself, but it was kind of wild.
Yeah, I think I'd be a bit too scared. I don't even want to drive on Australian roads in the cities here. Would not do it in China. So there's a couple more cultural differences. For one thing, Chinese food in Australia is not at all like it is in China. So we prefer things a bit sweeter, whereas in China it's much more savory. And obviously it's such a huge country. The different styles of food are different in each province that you go to. So you'll just have a whole smorgasbord. It's going to be fantastic if you're a foodie. As I said, I have a whole list of things that I want to do in China. There are like the three main ones, like the Great Wall of China, the Forbidden City in Beijing, and the Terracotta Warriors, which I think are must-dos, even though they are huge tourist traps. So I would just recommend going outside of June to August, because that's when it's like peak tourist season. There are also just some absolutely amazing natural wonders in China. There's a few national parks that I want to hit up. So one of them is the Nine Valley Villages National Park, which just has these amazing waterfalls and lakes with the water so blue and clear. Like, go and look up the photos. They are so cool.
Yeah,
There's Zhangjiajie National Park. I hope that my pronunciation of that was okay. And if you've seen the movie Avatar, you know, the scenery in that, that's actually what it was based off this national park, because they've got those like pillar-like mountains in there, and it's absolutely incredible. Yeah. There's a whole heap more too, but I won't take up all your time.
And are they all in the same area, or would you expect to travel quite far out to see all these different places?
We're traveling quite far out, but worth it.
Yeah, you know, China is absolutely huge, right? I mean, sort of size of Australia, kind of size, and obviously there's so much diversity, as you've said, Jackie. Even, I love the point about food. That's so critical, because, you know, I now call our local Chinese up here around here, I call it not Chinese, because it is just nothing like the food in China, which was so good. And hospitality is incredible. So if you get invited to somebody's place or out for a meal, that's just our light coming on in the side. Like, studio light has its own mind. But people just order all of these dishes, and his food comes out, and the smallest board of different flavours and colours. It's really unlike anything you see here in Australia. It's just mind-blowing. Yeah.
I just wanted to add on at the end, guys, if you're out there, if you have any countries that you'd like for me to do a deep dive on, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, because I love looking into new countries. So hit me up, let me know.
Good one.
Awesome.
One last thing on China, actually, that I was just thinking about, which was like negotiating, because if you've been to any of the kind of countries in Southeast Asia, East Asia, the bargaining side of things is really important. And depending where you go, bargaining is handled differently. Like, some places have got, like, you know, they kind of fatten it up by 10 or 20%. China is one of those countries where they'll fatten it up by like 80%. So you've got plenty of space to negotiate if you're at the markets. If you're not endorsed but looking for fake stuff, you've got a big margin for negotiation. And remember, guys, when you're negotiating, particularly like somewhere China, where if you don't speak the language, you know, you've really just got to use the body language, and always like good humor. Always have a smile on your face. Don't be afraid to like walk away. Be like, you know, my favorite negotiating tactic is always just like when they tell you that something is $100 and you know it's only worth like $5. It's just to laugh and give them a stupid price. Just tell them, I'm going to give you $1 for it, and then just laugh. And then they'll be like, no. And you just say, well, you're not being serious with me, so I'm not being serious with you. Let's start again, and, you know, let's like give me a fair price. And then they'll usually realize that you're not going to be fooled, and they'll come down a lot. So always smile, good humor, and don't be afraid to walk away, because guaranteed if they all want that sale, they're going to chase you. Yeah, best tips.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something that I want to elaborate on as well, or when I asked Jackie, language. So obviously, I'm assuming there's a lot of different dialects, Chinese dialects. So can you get by with just learning the basics of like Mandarin? I guess it depends where you're going to. Rob, you've been there a little bit.
Maybe I'll speak to that one. You have the two main languages, the Cantonese down in southeast Hong Kong, and then simplified Chinese, like which is Mandarin. And Mandarin is essentially supposed to be spoken everywhere. Of course, once you're out in very rural areas or away from big cities, you are going to run into a lot of dialects. But if you have some Mandarin, it's going to basically, the idea of Mandarin is essentially to be a unified language across all of China.
Okay.
So you should be able to get around using a little bit of Mandarin. It's a very complex language to learn. But anything you can learn is good, right? We've talked about Duolingo before as an app that you absolutely need to get your hands on. Memrise. We talked about Memrise today.
Yep.
So, and once again, like great app for learning languages.
Google Translate.
Google Translate, if you've got internet connection. The amazing thing I think about China is that, whilst it's a country that has a huge range of, wealth disparity between like super rich and very poor out in the rural areas, technologically, the place is just absolutely advancing like crazy. What you were saying, Jackie, in terms of like the long distance train, it's got more kilometres of high speed rail than any other country in the world.
Wow.
Bullet trains. It's got the most sophisticated network of high speed trains in the entire world. And at Chinese New Year, when everyone goes home to family, that's a very big deal, go home to family. It is the largest annual human migration on the planet.
Wow.
Largest human migration on the planet. They literally move millions and millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people using that transport system at Chinese New Year. So what you will observe there going into the cities and then out is this incredible diversity from very basic, very poor, right through to, honestly, like their internet puts our internet to shame in the big cities.
And Wi-Fi there is pretty accessible.
Well, inside big cities, absolutely having access to all of that as well. Obvious caveat, and I'm speaking a little bit out of my comfort zone, but just from what I read in the media, of course, is like you're in a country that is quite heavily controlled. It's censored. The media is censored. Internet is censored, as Jackie said, which means you need to be very, very conscious about what you're trying to access via the internet, the sort of information that you're transmitting to other people. I'm not saying that the Chinese authorities will monitor you, but it's an authoritarian country, and that is certainly technically possible, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So just walk with caution. It's an amazing country. Highly, highly recommend.
Definitely, 100%. I'm with you there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank
So
you.
I've got, guys.
Always lovely chatting with you. Good luck for your marketing exam, which is coming up soon.
Yes, gotta love that.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye, Jackie. China.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like, bucket list, right? There's so much to do there. I think if I was going to go travelling there, though, I'd probably want to do something like serious travelling. Probably do something escorted, not like with,
Like a tour?
like a tour is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like escorted.
It's a different type of.
Because there's so much to. Yeah, that's right. There's so much to do there, so many amazing places, and I would hate to think I was there for like 3 weeks or a month and missed out on the best bits just because language barrier or fear or something like that. So I think a tour would be amazing. I think we're at the end of another episode, Tash.
Yeah, we're almost there. We are just going to give our unsung hero shout out. So this segment is for people in the international education industry or the higher education industry that are passionate about overseas study and are really helping students to live their dream by studying overseas. So this week our unsung hero is Jessica Simpson from the University of Sydney. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do for all the students. She is a short-term coordinator at USyd.
A university that sends literally thousands of students on international study experiences.
So she's a very busy lady.
Very important part of this whole thing. So thank you, Jess, for being such a great supporter of overseas study. We've had a lot of fun.
Yes.
Hit us up in the Facebook group, Study Overseas Live Community. You can find all of the show notes, all of the resources we talked about, that video, the script for how to show gratitude to your parents and like completely pitch them.
I wish I had that.
Yeah, I
That's
wish
awesome.
I had it too.
We really hope you enjoyed this show today. If you haven't watched our other episodes, you can go back and watch them. We're up to episode 6 now. We really hope you're loving it. we're really enjoying it. We really want to keep making sure that we're making this valuable for you. So if there's a certain topic that you want us to talk about, let us know, post in the Facebook group.
And we will see you next
See you
week
next
on Study Overseas Live. Have yourself a great day. Cheerio.